Hello YouTube, and welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus Tier List. Well, a little depressing tier list on that topic, but I thought it would be fun, maybe isn't even the right word, but you know, I thought it would be interesting and it could make for good discussion to talk about a topic in regards to the Amazing Digital Circus that I don't see talked about all that often, which is the likelihood of abstraction for each of the characters. Now, you could make a case that these main characters are mainstays and that from a meta standpoint, it's not likely they're going to quote-unquote kill off any of their characters because abstracting is, in this universe, the closest thing there is to death. But, A, I don't think that is, I think it's very likely that at least one of the characters will get abstracted. But B, it's much more interesting to discuss it as if it is a distinct possibility rather than just to be like, oh no, they're not gonna, you know, they can't abstract because, you know, it's plot reasons. It doesn't lead for good discussion, it just say it's not possible. So, I thought it would be fun to make a little tier list and talk about some of the characters in the show, talk about traits about them that psychologically might make them good or bad at dealing with the whole abstraction and world of the Amazing Digital Circus. And in general, I just thought it would be fun to talk about this YouTube show. So, if you haven't seen it, first things first, go watch it. There's 5 episodes, they're each about 20 minutes long, so not that much of a ask. And there's a new episode every, 3 to 6 months, I think, is the average you're doing, because it's in-house animation, and it is top-notch animation. Very, very good stuff. Very unique style, and there's a lot of, gags that involve, the visual media that, they very clearly spend a lot of time working on. So, in general, it is well worth the waits for each of the episodes, in my opinion. So, I highly suggest you watch it, and that's also part of why I wanted to do this, because none of my friends watch this show, so I want somebody or some outlet to talk about the show through. So you guys are in some ways gonna be suffering because none of my friends watch the show with me and I can't talk about it. So that's part of why I wanted to bring it up. And funnily enough, I had recorded a version of this, and then when I was about to start editing, they posted a thing that's like, hey, our next episode's coming out in a couple days. Stay tuned for it. And I was like, well, shoot. I better stop making that video because there's a high chance that many of my points might change or even be entirely invalidated by the new episode. And I'm glad I did because there was a lot of interesting things that came up in episode 5. So, but that means that I've had to push back the tier list video a little bit longer than I would have liked to because normally I would have had enough of the tier list up probably last week, but because of that, make me pause my thing, I didn't end up getting. So I started working on the next tier list, and then I'll come up hopefully within a week or so after this one comes up because of that. But there was a bit of a delay for when the tier list comes up because of that. So sorry about that. But anywho. The only other thing I will mention is that, obviously there will be spoilers, so if you're watching this and you don't plan on watching the Amazing Digital Circus, then I guess that's fine, and in that case, I will explain what abstraction is. To briefly explain it, the Amazing Digital Circus is basically a virtual world that these people find themselves in that they can't leave, can't die, horrific injuries and whatnot, just kind of get joked off as if it was, like a cartoon or something, where somebody explodes and then 5 minutes later they're fine. So they are in this digital circus, as it's called, and the only real danger that they have is if they have a mental break and they fully lose sense of themselves or reality. Basically, if, their psyche shatters, then they turn into these big monsters that lose all semblance of who they were before, and they get thrown into a pit where they're just ignored because there's no death. They can't delete or kill the characters in there, so Kane, the administrator type character, just blocks them away, essentially. So that is the only thing they have that's close to death in this. So, with all that set aside, let's get started. And hopefully, because there's only 6 characters, this will be not as long. But you never know, I do like to ramble. So let's stop rambling and start talking about the video topic. So, first up, we have Jax. So, I'm going to put him in the average tier. Now, he puts up a front of being, honestly, an asshole. He always torments the other people, sometimes very violently, like kicking them off of bridges type of thing. He also has no regards for the NPCs and all the various adventures that go on because they're NPCs, so he torments them. And even at the end of the second episode, he even like unleashes a monster that eats the entire town, basically, because it's funny. Why not, you know? So his general defense against abstraction is that, well, nothing really matters because, you know, we can't die and all the people we're interacting with, for the most part, are fake. So he just does extreme off-the-wall, you know, violent, you know, gags, as he, you know, probably frames them as. And so things like throwing people into a grease cooker are no big deal to him, because in the grand scheme of things, they aren't even in the scope of the circus. Like, you know, when he throws Ragatha in that cooker, 2 minutes later, she's fine, and all she has is a bandage on her cheek, which is absolutely insane. So, the grand scope of things, what he's doing doesn't really matter too much. The reason why he's done this, though, is he has put up this front because letting people get close to him has clearly affected and deeply hurt him in the past. Especially in this last episode, we were shown signs that he had friends and he wasn't always like this, and he was more open and kind. But then after some of his friends have extracted, we saw hints of it with the frog person. We saw the frog door in the intermission in the last episode, as well as Ragatha mentioning, you know, he doesn't have any friends anymore after something happened. So it's very clear that he has been acting this way to not let people get close to him because he likely can't handle another friend, you know, abstracting and losing somebody. So because of that, though, in theory, he's got, you know, a low chance of abstracting because he is not emotionally opening himself up to other people. So when other people might get abstracted, it won't affect him. But we were seeing that he started to potentially pursue a friendship with Pomni. And it could end up leading to him lowering his guards and maybe even becoming more open and more friendly with others and befriending them, which could lower his, you know, shields, or it could remove his armor of sorts. And if one of them abstracts, it might become more likely that he follows suit shortly afterwards because of it. So because of that, I'm going to put him right in the middle. Not super high likelihood, not super low likelihood, right in the middle, because there's a good chance that Pomni is going to, tragically enough, make him more likely to abstract by befriending him. So next up on the list, we have Kinger. So with Kinger, he's in the low to mid chance. I'm going to put him lower than Jax, because this is going to be sort of left to right. For him, he'd be kind of between average and low chance, in my opinion, but I don't feel like adding another spot, so we'll put him in average, but the bottom of average. So, here's the thing, right? He's been in the circus longer than anybody that's currently in the circus has been, to the point where all the mainstay people didn't even know he had a wife in the circus before that abstracted. Like, literally none of them knew about it, and it's very clear none of them knew about it because Pomni mentions it in the last episode, and they're all like, what? What are you talking about? Like, they're all confused and blindsided by it. So, he's been here a long time, and insanity has been a hell of a defense for him. But in a oddly similar way to Jax, sadly, the longer that Pomni stays and the more they interact, and I think the higher chance he has of abstracting. So before episode 3, I would have put him in like the lowest tier, like almost no chance, like between low chance and no chance, because he just seemed like he was too insane to abstract. But that really showed us more about what's going on. The fact that he has perfect mental clarity when he's in darkness does reveal that he still has all of those human emotions and whatnot. He's not totally insane. It's just that he's basically developed a split personality that protects him from like things that might abstract him while under normal circumstances. But, and as we saw on the last episode, when they had their little meeting under the desk for the President Pomni episode skit thing, he still is aware of the fact that the darkness makes him sane and can tap into it if he needs to, you know, have moments of clarity. So with that going on, I think that as time goes on, that he will start to maybe regain more of himself and be more lucid on the regular and rely less on the darkness to have more genuine moments. And I think he's gonna start connecting with Pomni and the others more as time goes by, and that's going to gradually increase the odds of him abstracting over time, type of thing. So, as tragic as it is, once again, the friendship with Pomni could lead to him being more likely to abstract over time. That said, I still don't think it's likely that Jax or Kinger are going to be the ones that abstract. I don't think they're going to in the scope of the show, but this isn't just referring to the show itself, but like in a vacuum looking at their situation, how likely they would be to abstract. So that is where I'm going to rank him. Next up, we have Gangle. So this is going there, or she is going to go into my low category, and maybe that's weird to you guys as well. But as sad as it is, she seems to have kind of accepted that before even arriving in the digital circus, that life isn't going to go her way, and that, you know, things just kind of suck at times, and that's just how it is. It's very clear she suffers from extreme depression, and possibly, very likely, bipolar as well. So, because of that, though, when bad things are happening to her in the show, she isn't surprised or upset, she just sort of accepts it. She has moments where she shows her happy side, but when those end up inevitably getting cut short, usually by Jax or Kane, though we did see in episode 4 that Ragatha also cut into her psyche by making that comment about how they liked her better. Her and Jax both mentioned that they liked her better when she was sad, which, side note, is really kind of fucked up to say. In Ragatha's defense, she was equivalent of super drunk, but, you know, drunk words are honest thoughts, as they say. It is a bit depressing, and for many people kind of relatable, that some of the people in their lives find them more easy to deal with when they aren't, you know, being themselves. But that's just kind of how it is. At the end of the day, it's sort of ironic that something like depression could actually keep, in this setting, a person alive, where you can't really die, but you can lose your sense of self due to overwhelming emotions or your psyche breaking down. But because of her depression, her emotions are, like, reserved, or they're lessened. So I personally believe that it's much less likely than anybody else so far that I've discussed that she would have an abstraction, because, again, she sort of accepted her lot. There is a case you could make that, you know, she's been opening up more and more with Zooble over time, and that, you know, is starting to be less depressed and more normal on the regular. But I don't really think that it's really in the cards for her to abstract. There's also another little crazy theory I'm just going to put out here now in case in the future it ends up coming true, but based on the last episode, there is a possibility that Gangle could be an NPC that Kane just doesn't realize and isn't even at risk of abstracting at all because they literally can't. Now, there's not a lot of evidence to speak to that, but the main point I do want to bring up for that case is just that in the last episode when they had their baseball game, her evil variant was an NPC. So it's not super likely, but I just want to put that out there. It's just on the off chance that I end up being a prophet, because the show does like to throw oddballs at us, so I wouldn't be surprised. When they were patrolling the halls in the episode 1, or when they were walking down the hall with all the doors, we saw, I think, 2 doors, or maybe even more, that had, like, NPC images on it. Like, we saw mannequins having doors in there. So it could be possible that even some NPCs that are more prominent get their own rooms. So I'm not gonna say it's likely, but there's a chance she's actually an NPC all along. But enough of the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. Let's go on to Pomni. So Pomni, I am going to put her in mid-tier between Jax and Kinger. Now, I know from a meta-narrative, she is the main character, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense for her to abstract, at least not permanently, but we'll go into that later. From a meta standpoint, you might think it's no chance or low chance type of thing, but I'm not looking at this from a meta standpoint. I'm looking at this based on the traits we've seen in the show, and from those, I find her kind of in the middle ground. Her personality doesn't lend itself to the greatest odds of survival, but it's not bad either. She's kind and helps people, though sometimes with hesitation on her part and a clear uncertainty as to how to approach the situations, but we have seen several times that she has, in her own way, helped comfort other people, and ended up, because of that, naturally befriending much of the digital circus. So, because of that, she has vulnerability because she has grown bonds, but it's also clear to me that she isn't reliant on others' like opinions of her for validation, and that she isn't like socially needing them as much. It's more a natural bonding friendship that has occurred between several of the characters rather than like her latching onto them to maintain her sanity type of thing. So because of that, I find her to be perfect in the middle ground, you know? And depending on how things go, I think that Jax will... I think currently Jax is less likely than her, but as time goes on, I think he's going to get more and more likely to abstract than Pomni, whereas I don't really foresee Pomni increasing or decreasing in likelihood. She's kind of solid all around so far. Though, to be fair, she is the newest to the circus, so maybe as time goes on, she doesn't adjust to it as well. Hard to say for sure, but all of those factors make me believe that. And kind of in line with the Gangle thing, another theory is I actually don't think it's out of the cards that she could abstract, because I could actually see an end of series thing happening where she abstracts in some way, but finds a way to undo it for others, or somebody else abstracts and she's the one to figure out how to undo it. Like, I kind of see the show's ending involving Pomni in abstraction in some way, whether it's she's finding a way to undo it, or she undoes her own, or when she's in the pit with the other abstracted things, you know, they are like calm again, because Kinger is calm when the lights are out, so there's a good chance that the abstracted monsters are only insane in the light, because that is actually kind of what happened in episode 1, where the clown character, when they abstracted, was calm in the room until light got shown on them, and then they started attacking. So I could actually see Pomni potentially abstracting, going into the pit with the other monsters, and then somehow that leads to like things turning for the best. So that's my personal prediction for the future, though, is that the show will be wrapped up and the happy ending will come from Pomni defeating abstraction in some way. But that's just my theory. And that's it for Pomni, really, as far as things I wanted to discuss. So next we go to Zooble. So maybe this might be another like weird take to you guys, but I'm actually putting Zooble in high likelihood. Now, I know she's shown to be rather apathetic towards the circus as a whole, but in my opinion, I think that it is a front that she uses to keep from activities affecting her and from getting too close to people. She only is shown being really close, like, emotionally and personally with Gangle. She's not unclose, that's not a word, but, you know, she's not distant, as in, like, she doesn't avoid the others entirely, but she, in general, tries to get out of it going on as many activities as she can, and she doesn't talk to people that much besides when she's forced to, type of thing. She, in my opinion, I believe she has the aloof act is just a front to keep herself from getting attached, kind of in a way similar to Jack, which is ironic that she butts heads at them all the time, because they're kind of the same thing but a different flavor in that they both are putting on a front to avoid getting close to people. My evidence to the fact that the apathy is just a front and is not how she actually feels is that she is shown comforting others and acting normally on the activity she does end up going on, and even using for her activity that got suggested to be a bartender in a noir-type setting where she would serve drinks to the other people and hear about their problems. Like, if that doesn't scream that she does care and she wants to get them to open up and she wants to try to help them with their issues, then, I mean, to me, I don't know what else would. So in my mind, she is very deep. She does very deeply care. She's just trying to not get close so that she doesn't have that abstract type of thing. Now, this is all based off of what we've currently seen, And we are starting to see more and more of her in the last 2 episodes. Like, the first 3 episodes, she wasn't, like, in them hardly at all, type of thing. But we saw more of her in episode 4, and a lot more of her in this episode. So there's a good chance that going forward, she'll be more proactive, and thus I could be misreading things about her entirely. And in the case that she does end up being more proactive, then I would probably put her down to low chance of abstraction. But based on what the current evidence is, this is sort of where I place her. Because at the end of the day, she seems to be quietly or inwardly miserable and is avoiding her problems, which is not a great way to approach issues. So I put her in, at the moment, the highest likelihood of abstracting. And last but certainly not least, we have Ragatha. She's going to the top of high likelihood. Oops, sorry. Also, I guess that image cut her head off when I put it in here, so she just doesn't have her head, but Ragatha. So, from the jump, she has been shown to have a deep desire for affection from others. She was the first person to open up to Pomni and try to befriend her, which is, a good thing. But as we've gotten to see more of her, I think it has become clear that her friendship has become kind of like what I was talking with Pomni, where rather than it just being a natural thing that's occurring, it's becoming, it's something that is formed because of her personal needs rather than authenticity. So she has a deep desire for others to like her, essentially. And she also has a horrible habit of bottling or pushing down her negative thoughts and emotions. To me, it's very clear from this last episode 5, that she developed the people-pleasing persona as a response to trauma with her mother to try and... You do see it a lot, not to try to be a psychologist, because I'm not like a psych major in any means, but I do know it is very common for people that suffer from abusive relationships to take up this sort of people-pleasing persona in order to try to give their abusers as little reasons as possible to create conflict and try to just maintain normalcy. So for a while, her being a people pleaser, she was the anchor for the group. She always tries to bring things back together, calm people down when the circumstances and the adventures are going crazy, that sort of thing. But as time is going on, it's clear that a lot of the circus, even Gangle, who considers her a friend, has a hard time really telling if she's genuine anymore, because she's just always acts the same way no matter what happens. So it makes it feel very likely to them and to me that she's just, projecting or putting on a fake persona in this, which is apparently common in this, but it makes sense. So before Pomni joined, she, like I said, was kind of the anchor, but as Pomni has been getting more and more accustomed to the circus, she naturally has started befriending everyone, and again, it has come from her just interacting with them, and them opening up, and her opening up, and her being there when they need people to talk to, rather than the unnatural, forced, and sort of disingenuous method that Ragatha has been using by just always being nice to everybody all the time. Surely that means everybody will like me, right? So that, coupled with the fact that, like I said, she is socially reliant on the others for her mental stability, and as we saw on the last episode, that when the episode ended and Pomni went off with Jax to go hang out, and Gangle, Kinger, and Zooble went off on their own way, she felt alone and abandoned and sad. I think that it's a clear sign that her stability is teeter-tottering right now. There's also the fact that she rather quickly can jump to conclusions at times, with her misunderstanding Pomni's moments of friendship with Jax in episode 5. To me, it looked like she was interpreting it as Pomni doesn't want to be her friend anymore and is choosing Jax over her and is almost abandoning her. When she went up to bat and then turned and saw that Pomni was talking with Jax and having a good time, she looked personally betrayed. And then at the end of the episode, again, when Pomni walked off with Jax, she looked like hurt and betrayed. So because of all that, I think there's a high likelihood that if there is going to be one of the cast members to abstract, it's going to be Ragatha, and it might be within a couple episodes type of thing. I don't know how many episodes they have planned, but let's just say, and hypothetically, if they had 13 episodes planned, then I would picture her abstracting around episode, like, 7 or 8 type of thing. But that is it for the tier list. Or is it? I thought I would hide this one until the end. Now, this is once again another one of my crazy conspiracy theory type things, but I think that the mysterious mannequin man that we saw in the last episode showing up in the distance is, in fact, another person that we just haven't met yet that has been avoiding everything and has been hiding, and that they are in the low chance as well. The lowest chance, based on what we're seeing. So this is my crazy conspiracy theory, but, so, we have seen that there is a person wandering around in the circus outside of Adventures that looks like a mannequin, right? And the other factor is that we have seen them have a room door. So I believe that this points to either there is another person here that Kane has forgotten about because they look just like the NPCs do, and that we might come to interact with them in the future. Or this is evidence to my theory that Gangle might actually be an NPC all along, and this is sort of like the proof that NPCs can be out and about and aren't restricted to just being in adventures. So that was my last little fun thing I wanted to put in there. But in the case that they are, based on the data we have, I'd put them in low chance because we haven't seen anything about them, so can't really make too much of an assessment. But there you have it. That is my Amazing Digital Circus abstraction tier list. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope that this gets your creative juices flowing, and maybe you guys share your personal thoughts on who you think is more and less likely to abstract, who you think I got wrong, what type of tier list you want to see in the future. If you want to see me cover more Amazing Digital Circus stuff, like I could talk about the adventures, that type of thing. If you want me to talk about this show more, by all means, I'd be happy to. But at the moment, this is my only planned content for this, so if I don't hear feedback from you guys about liking this, then that'll probably be it for the time being. But in general, that is going to be the video. So, thank you all so much for watching. Leave your thoughts, comments, future suggestions for tier lists in the comments below. And until next time, stay healthy.